Good afternoon, everyone. I saw this Twitter poll while I was scrolling through Twitter, and the poll is asking, quote, complicated question today. Who is smarter? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, sorry if I got that wrong, or Justin Trudeau? AOC versus Justin Trudeau. And I couldn't not know. I didn't want to vote because I couldn't decide who's smarter. Who's smarter? Is it AOC? Is it Justin Trudeau? It's not Justin Trudeau. It's not by a lot. It's not even 50-50. AOC wins, and that's incredible. Cow farts, right? Wow, incredible. And here's another one. This is Wellesley Station, TTC. This is Toronto, if you've ever been. And weird. It's weird. And not weird because it's three men. It's just weird. This is supposed to be a family train station, right? So strange that it's three men saying, take pride in the sex you want. Okay, fine. Take pride in the sex you want in your own bedroom, not advertised in a place where families are walking through. And it's not the fact that it's three men. If it was three women, or a man and a woman and a man, or a man and a woman, or whatever it is, whatever the makeup here, weird. Why do we need to advertise this? What is going on? And more to the point, why do we need to advertise this in a place where people are walking through with kids and families and all sorts of other stuff? Weird. So here's a story that is going on. This gentleman here was standing to be a nominee to be the candidate in his riding and was removed from contention somehow. I don't know. I don't have insider information or anything to that effect. I'm just saying what I have gathered up to this point through reading through Twitter threads and talking with him. I talked with him on Twitter and reading the news stories, etc. So, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because Michelle Rempel tweets about this, and the reaction is I don't think what she expected. So here's the tweet, and then I'll show you the reaction. Michelle Rempel tweeting, quote, "This type of discrimination has no place in Canadian society. No one should be discriminated against because of their sexual orientation." So he's alleging that he was removed from his candidacy because he was gay. And I haven't seen anything to back that up, but I haven't seen all of it yet. So who knows, right? Who knows? However, the reactions to this tweet are, here's the top one on my feed was, quote, "Wow, now there's a leftist tactic we haven't seen before. Seriously? We just came through an election in Alberta where there's a 24/7 gambit by the NDP. Personally, I think LGBT folks are tired of being political pawns, and the rest of us are tired of being labeled omniphobes." And this one says, "It seems more intent on trashing the party than running for it." And it's like, that's kind of what I thought too. And this person says he was trashing the party even before he lost the nomination. And that's part of the reason that he lost the nomination in one of the stories that I read. So I don't know. I tried to tell him, anyway, you can read it on Twitter if you want to. So the reaction to Michelle, though, was interesting, right? Here's another one that says, "Thanks, Michelle, for sharing this story. You have now confirmed that I can never trust you in any way. Cheers." Right? And another person says, "Me too." 4 likes. Or 42 likes and 4 retweets. I mean, that's not a great result when you're trying to take down another person's party via this guy say so, right? And really, I couldn't imagine a political party removing somebody simply because of their sexual orientation. I mean, we do live in Canada. That seems like nobody cares about your sexual orientation. Nobody cares. Unless you make it an issue, it's not an issue. That's it. Maybe that's just me, but there you go. Here is the meat of this video today, and it is the National Post reporting, quote, "In an inspired performance, Norman lawyer Marie Henein," I'm going to go with, Henein? Yeah, Henein, "did incalculable damage to the Trudeau brand." Sorry if I've got your name wrong, madam. "You see the phrase political performance a lot in business, but the truth is most politicians, even good ones, can't perform worth a damn. They're hams, most of them, by necessity. In politics, nuance doesn't sell." That's what made what Marie Henein did Wednesday so remarkable. For more than 30 minutes, she performed in the truest sense. She put on a piece of political theater, complete with shrugs, half smiles, and quick asides that was as understated, as it was devastating. In front of the assembled Ottawa press corps, Henein flayed the Prime Minister without ever mentioning his name. She never said the word SNC-Lavalin, even as she linked her client's case indelibly to that festering scandal. Henein was speaking to reporters Wednesday after the charges against her client, Vice Admiral Mark Norman, were stayed in a surprise court appearance. The prosecutor told the court that after reviewing new evidence, the Crown had no longer felt it had a reasonable chance of obtaining a conviction in the case. The decision was a massive win for Henein and her client. The politically charged case against Norman, he was accused of leaking confidential material related to a shipbuilding contract, the Davie ship scandal versus Irving, right? I was talking about that for the last couple of days. Back to the article. Had come to the center in the public eye, like the SNC affair, around an accusation of political interference in a high-profile prosecution. I scroll down a little bit. Quote, before we get started, she began, I'd like to introduce at this point she paused for half a beat and allowed herself the slightest smile, all-female team that represented Vice Admiral Norman. She delivered her next line in a stone-faced deadpan. Fortunately, Vice Admiral Norman didn't fire the females he hired. The reference to Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Phillpot could not have been clearer if it was stenciled in red paint on a white wall in letters 100 meters tall. But Henein was far from finished. Again and again, she hammered in references to the SNC-Lavalin affair without ever making them direct. Quote, the decision to stay this prosecution, she said, was discretion exercised by the prosecutors and the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP, unimpacted by political considerations, as it should be. She delivered the last line with a staccato flair, underlining each word as a separate sentence. She slipped the next one, Miller, the most devastating one, as a casual aside. That is, in fact, how things are supposed to work, she said. Politics are supposed to stay out of the politics are supposed to stay out of the prosecutorial process. Henein took pains to praise the prosecutors in the Norman case for their integrity and professionalism. She was not as kind about the Prime Minister's office and the Privy Council's office, which she blamed collectively for withholding a host of documents over months and even years that she felt were crucial to her client's defense. Quote, you should be very concerned when anyone tries to erode the resilience of the justice system or demonstrates a failure to understand why it is so fundamental to the democratic values we hold so dear, she said. Quote, there are times that you agree with what happens in a courtroom, there are times that you don't, and that's fine, but what you don't do is you don't put your finger and try to weigh in on the scales of justice. That is not what should be happening. Henein was 100% clear on one point. The decision to stay the charges against her client, she said repeatedly, was an independent one made without political interference. Quote, the prosecutors in a high-profile case looked at the evidence and did what they're supposed to do, she said. They said, we don't have a reasonable prospect of conviction. The DPP acted independently. But she followed that up, too, with a thinly veiled barb about SNC affair, which centered on alleged political interference into the DPP's decision on whether or not to offer SNC-Lavalin a deferred prosecution agreement. Quote, if it tells you anything, it should tell you that when she, the DPP, thinks she should prosecute, she goes ahead. At that, Henein paused almost imperceptibly and smiled just for an instant. And when she thinks that she shouldn't, she declines to do so. And that's the way it should be. I scroll down just a little bit. Quote, the process involved in a public prosecution like this is entirely independent of my office, Justin Trudeau said before the weekly Liberal caucus meeting. Quote, we have confidence in the work being done by the directors of the public prosecutions. Henein was later asked if Norman was owed an apology. He has been through a great deal, she replied. There is a supply ship that is in operation on time and under budget, thanks in part to Vice Admiral Norman. Here her voice dipped and got a little gravelly. I think it's time. She waited half a beat to say sorry to him. So that's interesting, and really it does damage Mr. Trudeau, and it will damage him even more if Mr. Norman goes on tour to tell his story, because it looks like it's a similar story to SNC. And speaking of SNC, I have said that these two will go somewhere. I thought that it was a coup attempt. I thought they were trying to take Liberal leadership from Justin Trudeau. I thought they had a line of Liberals, and if they had more than 50%, well, they could take over the party and put their own leader in. Maybe, right? If Jody Wilson-Raybould, who knows? Who knows what process she had in mind, if she had any process at all. I covered it and talked at length about it. But I thought maybe also she would go to the NDP and offer that kind of stability to that far left party that is very in line with what the Liberals are doing. The NDP, I think their biggest plank is going to be free pharmacare, and I think the Liberals are planning on introducing that anyway. And so it would lend credibility, but it looks like they're going green. And I'm not going to go through this because I don't need to. I think that says it all right there. They may stay independent, as this is speculation, but who knows? It could be announced very soon that there are 3 green seats and potentially, well, up to 3 anyway, going into the going into the 2019 election. So that's interesting. And the last province to go to the polls before the 2019 election is Newfoundland and Labrador. And May 16 is election day for them. So just 7 more days, everyone. And it looks like the PCs might win it. There's 63% who are pretty interested in a change. And where's the, usually I have all this stuff lined up. Desire for change, 67%. Sorry, I think it's time for a change. And the PCs are five points ahead. So there you go. That's what the state of Canada looks like going into the 2019 election. All of the other provinces have turned conservative blue, and Justin Trudeau is well, being treated very poorly in the press, probably as badly as he's ever been treated in his whole in his whole tenure in the public eye since becoming Liberal leader anyway. So yeah, interesting. This election is going to be nasty, and it's going to be very, very interesting. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca. And Michelle Rempel, are you ever going to unblock me? Ever going to unblock me? Really? My goodness. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody.